Welcome back to I Want That Too, the podcast where Disney merch meets Disney history. I'm entertainment writer Jim Hill, and as always, I'm joined by the lovely Lauren Hersey, who is getting the road trip dirt out of your hair, right? You spent the weekend traveling, right?
Yes. Last weekend, I was in Destin, and I had it on my Destin bucket list to visit the Disney Store outlet, which is one of only 21. I thought I was 22. Disney stores left in the United States, and it was an experience. And then this weekend, I went to the grand opening of the first Disney Store limited time in Ross Park, which we're going to talk all about in the feature. But down in Destin, the Disney Store was a different vibe than what I had experienced in Cincinnati. This was at the Silver Sands Premium Outlets, and I remember visiting this store like a decade ago, and that's when like Descendants and everything was, really big. I remember buying my daughter like a blue Eevee like leather jacket because that was all the rage at the time. So when I went in this time, obviously, we've got May the 4th leftover merch, I'm assuming, but it was still full price. Right front and center with, the release of Mandalorian and Grogu. And then to the left, the second big feature obviously was Toy Story. But I had to send you a picture of some of these weird characters that I saw. There was so much Toy Story in the front of the store. And I think their model was full price in the front, obviously sale in the back. And that's what I wanted to, get into. But do you want to talk a little bit about the picture I sent you, Jim? Because I was confused.
Yes. Lauren sent, it's a box set of Jessie, Woody, and Buzz. However, I guess the polite way of saying this is it's the Toy Story trio in formal wear. And, in fact, Woody's in black tie, isn't he?
Yes, and Buzz Lightyear is wearing a bow tie. He looks like regular Buzz with a bow tie. And I'm like, what in the world?
And, well, what's interesting about this is this merch actually dates back to last year, 1995, which is the 30th anniversary of Toy Story. And this was the set that debuted out ahead of the Academy Awards. So the gimmick of this outfit is it's Jessie, Woody, and Buzz as, dressed as if they'd be going to the Academy Awards. For me, I remember when this debuted last year, and it's like, okay, what is the subset of Toy Story fans that would think, oh, I have to buy that? And I was thinking, it's got to be so small that this, of course, is back in the sale portion of the Destin store. And you were telling me, Lauren, no, right up front and full price, right?
Yes, right up front, full price, next to all of the Toy Story mini ears at $36.99. I was blown away. I swore these ears were $29.99 in the parks, and I'm like, I know Destin's kind of bougie, but like, what are we doing?
Forgive me for asking the question, but are the Toy Story mini ears being shipped through the Strait of Hormuz? Is there something I
that we don't know, right? Where are you coming from, ears? But I will tell you, as I ventured to the back, Jim, do you see my shirt? I think there was one in one of these shirts.
Look at
made alone because I'm like this. I'm wearing a gray Disney Store sweatshirt with 1987.
That's the actual launch of the chain. Look at that! Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And when I saw this, I had to grab it. There was one, and it was like $14. Oh, so I don't even think that you can get a sweatshirt for $14.
I'm sorry, but the combination of you hosting this podcast and scoring that shirt for $14,
yes, I wore it for you today.
Given all of the $79 Spirit jerseys we've gotten for Lainey so far,
Mom needs to save a buck.
There we go.
Yeah, and they did have a good bit of Disneyland 70th merch, which was similar to what we were seeing in Cincinnati. And like later in the show, we're actually going going to talk about another 70th anniversary piece of merch that's just getting released right now, which is a tinge on the odd side of things. But anyways, so there were definitely some deals to be had. They had like $5 like kids jackets. They did have a whole section that was marked for $1.96.
Wow.
So I thought they were really bringing it as far as, the deals go. But if you're ever in that area, I'd encourage you to check it out. It's kind of like tucked away in a back corner. But now I feel like I'm on a mission, Jim. Like, I was in Cincinnati, now I'm in Destin, then I went to the one in Pittsburgh. We're going to Philly. Like, I feel like we have to stop at Lancaster. And then I might have to make a trip to Paramus for when they open, the next Disney Disney store limited time. Get it penciled in.
Yeah, okay, will do. And again, Nancy's a Jersey girl, so we use that as an excuse to return to beautiful Paramus.
Yes. All right. Well, we do have a lot to cover. So we're going to talk about the new Main Street Lego news that just came out. We got some official Muppets merch out of Hollywood Studios. And then we're going to spend some time talking about the opening of this Disney Unlimited store in today's feature, and standing in line and waiting for 4 hours this weekend had me thinking, I'm like, wait a minute, like, how did Disney actually get back in the mall business? Like, how did we get here? So we're going to dive into all of that. But before we do, again, thank you for listening. We really do appreciate it. And if you are enjoying the show and want to help keep it going, we are now at episode 101, no Dalmatians, but it's still kind of wild nonetheless. So leaving us a quick rating or review, it really means a lot, and it helps more Disney fans find the show. And if you're looking for a little bit more, make sure you're checking out Jim Hill Media on Patreon. There you'll find free episodes and bonus content across the network. Didn't you just do like a new show about castles? Is that this
We did.
Unpacked?
And Mr. Schul and I are hard at work for the Disney Unpacked for June about It's a Small World and finding so many weird stories out about that attraction.
Oh, I got some merch to talk about too later in the show. We got some good new merch.
There we go. All right. But of course, the thing about a podcast is you need a sponsor. And in our case, our sponsor is UnlockMagic.com, your go-to source for great deals for Disney and Universal tickets. And if a trip to the parks is on your radar for the summer of 2026, head to UnlockMagic.com and let their team help you make your next vacation just a little bit more magical. Okay, so you were, and again, if you're going to a Disney park, you're going to the Magic Kingdom, and you come in through Main Street USA, but now you have the opportunity, to buy Main Street USA on Main Street USA, right?
Yes, I don't understand this though, Jim. Make it make sense. So Lego and Disney just this week, they've unveiled this large-scale Main Street USA build that's based off the original Disneyland entrance for the 70th anniversary. Aren't we like over? Isn't like in like May? Wasn't that?
Again, we were just talking about the Straits of Hormuz. There are, and remember, there so much of. We are still, weirdly enough, in post-pandemic, what it did to supply chains, and in fact, think about it. The 70th anniversary of Disneyland, again, that was 2025. And a number of these products were put in the pipeline 2022, 2023, and the fact that, something like this that involves plastic and packaging and lots of little parts.
Oh, not just lots of little parts. I mean, almost 4,000 little parts. Like, this is not for your child to put together. Like, this is made for adults and collectors, wouldn't you say?
It is. And in fact, my sister Andrea's friend, Dan Stone, that is a Lego guy. All right. If you go to his condo, the uppermost level of the dining area is filled with these elaborate Lego sets that he himself has assembled over the years. And so the people who take on these 4,000 piece projects, they're out there. I've met them. I know them. You know.
Oh, yeah.
But this one, this looks a little daunting.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So it's serious business. If you like, I know you're not seeing it, but please Google it. So it has several recognizable Main Street locations, including the fire station, the Emporium, the Crystal Arcade, the jewelry shop, and along with all of that, I do also love. Do you see that they like put Walt's apartment above the fire station?
Yeah.
The family apartment.
Do they have the lamp in the window?
It's small. I can't see if the lamp is in the window, but like they make a point to say that this is Walt's family apartment. It says it's referencing Walt Disney's legacy.
Yeah, and what's so funny, and in fact, I'm sorry, I'm blanking the gentleman who posted this on social media, but there's a longtime Disney artist who actually did designed windows for the Emporium, who was saying, "Well, I have to buy this," because it actually recreates the windows that I used to decorate at Disneyland. So it's like,
and I'm curious. This is the set includes interior displays and miniature references to well-known Disney attractions, such as obviously the Castle, Jungle Cruise, Haunted Mansion. But I'm wondering like what this looks like on the backside, because the only photos I've seen, they're front-facing.
Well, I don't know if the backside of a Lego version of Main Street is up there with the backside of water from the Jungle Cruise, but I'm sure someone will eventually share this photograph with us, Lauren, and we can move on with our lives.
Yes, because now I'm curious. So not only does it include all of those structures, but you're also getting 15 figures that go along with the set. So you get Mickey and Minnie, you get some tourists, you get some cast members, you get the Dapper Dans, I was so excited. All four Dapper Dans. They didn't chintz on the Dapper Dans. There's a couple children, a fire truck driver. So I mean, there's a couple people at the popcorn cart. Like it's pretty darn elaborate, I must say. And what do you think about the $400 price tag?
Well, okay. Now, the set is described as being like a 3,899 piece set. So, okay, I'm really bad at math here. So what is that? That's like 10 cents a piece? Is that, what is that? With a $399 dollar price tag. I mean, that many pieces at that price and this elaborate a setup. Again, this is a very specific subset of Lego collectors that would be going after this. I mean, I looking at that price point, it's like, okay, for these folks, the people who would prize this, okay, I can see them paying that.
I can see people paying it, and I can see this selling out. So it's available for pre-order by like Lego Insiders on June 1st,
right there,
and to the rest of us on June 4th. So if you are interested in something like this, set yourself a reminder and go check it out June 1st or June 4th.
And more to the point, if you actually build it, again, take pictures of the backside. Lauren has questions. Okay.
Yeah. Now, speaking of things that are opening and dates, so I've been seeing and hearing a ton about the previews for Rock and Roller Coaster, and I have not heard one negative review.
No. And
have you heard anybody that had anything bad to say about Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets?
No, and in fact, it is, let's be honest, there were a lot of us who, when they decided to shut down Muppet Vision, which again, very last thing that Jim Henson, worked on before he died in April of 1990, they weren't happy. And then there was this thing about the Muppets are now moving over to Rock and Roller Coaster and replacing Aerosmith, and Aerosmith has its fans. So, it's just one of these things where it was like, all right, this better work. And the story that I've been hearing is that the Imagineering team that took on this project was so aware of that issue that, the effect of the entire Disney theme park community and particularly Muppet fans were eyeballing this closely, so they had to deliver the goods. So they actually buried the needle so far in the over-delivery direction. That, I think, is the greatest praise for what they've done with Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets. Everybody I've talked to is like, I wrote it, it's amazing, you want to get back in line immediately, because, and it's not just because the ride is still a wonderful thrill ride, it's the fact that there are so many Muppet jokes, there's so much Muppet stuff going on,
like a lot of
Easter
something. Eggs that you want to be looking for.
Yeah, and so you want to get back in line immediately to re-experience the ride and see what else you missed. And remember, this attraction originally opened in 1999. So for a 27-year-old ride to suddenly become white hot again, and on the backs of a franchise, which, let's be honest here, Lauren, was last popular back in the 80s and the 90s, I mean, that's a win-win right there.
Yeah,
right there.
And it's, the story for this part of the show is not really even about the success of the ride. It's that, Disney is giving people what they want, and they have come out with a full line of Muppets merch. So in addition to the ride merch, what we were talking about when I was doing that story about them releasing those Muppet plush on TikTok before the Disney store, and I think it was like Disney proper had not released a line of Muppet plush in like a decade.
Yeah. Well, again, just the weird thing with the Muppets, and I mean this in the kindest possible way, is that this is the modern Disney company, which has Pixar and Marvel and Lucasfilm and ESPN and ABC. And it's just sort of like, there's a whole bunch of other characters in France, and let alone what actual Disney is doing, whether it's Frozen or Encanto or Moana. So, Miss Piggy and Kermit, have to fight for attention. So the fact that we got, as you described, that first set of Muppet plush in forever, and then to see the full retail program that's been created for Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets. I mean, it's thrilling.
It really is. And I mean, like, they did not skimp on any details here. So I put some of the, like, if you look, there are photos online of the gift shop that you would enter, like, post-ride. And there are even a lot of hidden details and trunks and props and, chalk writings within the store. So it was so hard for me to pick what to show. But I had to love this Miss Piggy t-shirt, and she's dressed like a rocker chick with her black leather jacket. It says Rock and Roller Coaster. And then you get the whole Muppet gang in a shirt for the Rock and Roller Coaster specifically. I loved all the animal stuff, like the party animal, rock and roll loud, and it says Hollywood Studios on it. But my by far favorite piece of merch that I've seen so far is these license plates. So, aren't they cool?
They are cool, and more to the point, if I could have figured out how to spell the Muppets using a 3, a T, and a 5 previously, I would have the bumpers, that license plates for the car.
Yes, and up in the corner, I don't know if you saw it says like DHS, and then where you would put your registration sticker, it says 2026. So very, very clever. You can get that as a big magnet or a pen. And I also like to see that there was a Bunsen and Beaker from the Muppet Lab pen, which was exclusive to pass holders. So I don't know, Jim. Like, this is looking good for the Muppets, and the ride hasn't even opened to the public yet. I think it opens tomorrow, the 26th. So we'll see if the rest of the general public who's experienced it has the same feelings as, it was cast members, pass holders, DVC. So we've got to see a lot of feedback. So stay tuned on that. But switching gears, Jim, Christmas is only 6 months away.
Yeah. On the other hand, the character we're about to talk about, I've had issues with for a while. All right, I don't need a narc in my house. Okay.
Can you guess what Jim is talking about?
There we go. Elf on the shelf, okay? I don't need somebody talking to the fat man about this fat man, about, the things he's doing during the year, which, we're taking that off of the Christmas list, And the notion that now we're getting a Disney or a bunch of Disney-themed Elf on the Shelf characters. But please describe what these things are like.
Yes, and not all of the details are out yet, but what I can tell you is this is the first time that Disney is partnering with the Elf on the Shelf brand, and people were like so excited. And if you're not familiar, you don't have little kids, maybe like 20 years ago at this point, it kind of became a tradition where you get your elf and it comes in a nice box with a book, and if your elf moves around the house and it comes back and kind of reporting on your behavior or reporting on Jim's behavior, I don't know, maybe on the naughty list, but and it's kind of taken on a life of its own. So there was the original elf, and then we got a girl elf, and then we got a reindeer and a dog, and the list kind of goes on, and they're mischievous little characters. And so it does not surprise me that we are getting, some Disney-fied versions. Think of the demographic, family, small kids, perfect. But what we're seeing here is we've got these elves that are wearing Disney pajamas and Mickey and Minnie ears. We've got an elf hanging. Now, I don't know if they're selling the outfit or if they're selling the whole elf. I don't know. But it is Spider-Man, and he is hanging upside down on a tree. And then I had to include Olaf because, look how cute. That's one of the little girl elves is dressed as Olaf.
Yep. I mean, again, a smart play on Disney's part. And again, as we were just talking about, this is the modern Disney company with Lucasfilm and animation and Marvel. So I like that they're doing this from a Disney point of view, but again, never liked this little narc. And it's just the fact that he's now broadening his reach to the Magic Kingdom. It's like,
too close for comfort.
There we go.
But anyway, so the full line has not been released yet. So as we know more, we'll make sure to keep you posted. Maybe I'll do it on the side if Jim doesn't like the elves. But anyways, stay tuned because, around July is when we start seeing a lot more of the official holiday releases.
Got it. Okay, so that is our news portion for this week. But when we get back, Lauren is going to start to tell us about her big adventure going to this pop-up Disney store in Ross Park. But before we do that, there's this. And we're back, and got to tell you folks, over this past Memorial Day weekend, I think Nancy was the one who got to see the video you took at Ross Park Mall of the giant line outside of this pop-up store, and I was just kind of stunned, but again, what was it actually like to be there, Lauren?
Oh my gosh. I could not have expected this. I mean, even if you would have told me, I wouldn't have believed you. So we are rope dropping Disney adult people that, we understand the value of getting places early. Not that I felt like I needed to, but my mom and my daughter were coming along with me. And so the Disney store grand opening was happening at 10 a.m. So as good patrons, we got there about 9, right? And so we turn into the parking lot, and there were a ton of cars. And I looked at my mom and I'm like, this can't be here for like the Disney store, right? So I get a little bit closer and I see that the line is wrapped around the building. And like, it did not feel like this was the opening of a store. This felt like we were lining up for an event or an attraction. Like everybody was like decked out in their Disney clothes and their Disney ears and, really, really excited. But I was trying to, I was putting my little Disney journalist hat on, and I was posting on social media to let people know what to expect. Because one of the things that I was saying was, if you were thinking that you were just going to drop in and pop into the Disney store and see what they had going on, most likely that was not your reality or your experience. And I knew a lot of people after the fact were coming from places, as far as Canada, New York. You should have seen the license plates in the parking lot. Crazy. But anyways, so we get in line, and it was raining and it was cold. So thankfully, around 9:45, a Disney cast member came out and was letting people know that the first 100 people that were in line there were going to receive wristbands, and then everyone else was going to have to scan a QR code to enter a virtual queue. It was literally like you were getting a virtual queue at Disney.
Okay. Not only the folks at Ross Park Mall, but also the people in line right now for Bluey's Wild World.
Somebody said online, they're like, Disney adults, we're good at waiting in line. Yes, we are.
Okay.
So now get in the building, and I can see the Disney store in front of us, and get up to the point, right in front of the store where you could, scan in to get your QR code. Did you see what my return time was?
Yeah. 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. Getting there at 9 a.m. Our return time was at 1 o'clock.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we want to stick around for the grand opening, because just like they've done with past Disney stores, you've probably heard about the experience where they have the little kids and they kind of dress them up like Sorcerer Mickey, and there's a key, and it's, it may make a very big deal out of it. So we were sticking around for that. And at this point, I'm not exaggerating when I say there had to have been 1,000 people there.
Oh yeah, easy. I mean, again, the video that you shared, between this line snaking back and forth, this looked like the queue outside of Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets. So
yes, and so one of Eric's coworkers, she was messaging me and she was like, "Hey, I heard you're up there. I'm on my way." And I was like, "Whoa, Nelly, I don't know if you're even going to be able to get in." But it happened to be that when we were scanning the QR code, I scanned it and Lainey scanned it. So we were actually able to get 3 additional people in. So it ended up working out.
Aren't you clever?
Yes,
Okay.
and all her little girl Paisley wanted was this giant Stitch that was at the top of Plush Mountain. She had her heart set. So I'm just thinking, coming from Wheeling to Pittsburgh, an hour and 20 minutes, how sad this little girl would have been not to be able to get her Stitch. But just for fun, getting there, we went over just to scan the QR code to see, where are we at now with times. And at that point, so just before 11, all of the reservations were gone for all day Saturday and all day Sunday.
No.
Yes. And I'm like, how does this happen? So I think what was going on in Disney's, head would be that if you came for the grand opening and let me get back to the math. I feel like this is what Lynn would want to know, is this store was tiny, right? And they were only allowed to have 25 people in this store at a time. Are you familiar with like Claire's, Jim, at the mall?
Yeah. Okay. Female clothing?
It's like jewelry accessories.
There we go.
But it's okay. How about like a Lids? Like a little bit bigger than a Lids. Like half.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really? That small?
Really, that small. And so they were able to have 25 people at a time. And I got this was from a cast member, and which meant they gave 100 reservations per hour that the store was open. And so I think all these people came for the grand opening, and they didn't want them to be horribly disappointed, even if they came from, a long way. So that is why they ended up giving all the reservations through Sunday. And the cast member I talked to said that she was unsure at the time if they were going to open up Monday too. But they are anticipating, and she said that they were waiting on the weather forecast to make the decision whether to open up those reservations or not. But there were a lot of people online that were really, really upset that they made the trek up there and then did not get in the store. So, yeah. There's that. But there's also, some other things that people were upset about. A lot of people, magical, wonderful experience. And, ours was not terrible either. So something that they were doing is Disney's marketing machine. They were handing out like the alien headbands, and like you probably saw in that video, there, everybody had that. And they had these really cool these postcards they were handing out, and the guy gave me like a stack of stickers, and I will tell you that was like a really nice touch specifically for the grand opening that I was not expecting. So we went to the food court, got a bite to eat, and they did say to line up about 15 to 20 minutes before your return time. So Jenny got in line at like 12:35 for a 1 o'clock return time, and we were in line just about an hour to actually get in the store. So what they were doing is the cast members were going through the line and saying, like, do you have, reservation time? Yes. What time is it? Yes. Okay, good. I think the lady actually said, oh my God, thank God. Because how many people have gotten in this line that she's like, sorry, come back Monday or Tuesday or whatever. So we get up to the, front of the line, and what they're doing is they're letting, 2 people, 3 people, whatever, in at a time as people leave, because the fire marshal is there. And they have security everywhere. But the sought after item, Jim, is actually, grab it real quick. They had these Pittsburgh Disney store t-shirts.
Oh, okay.
And they were they said there are limited quantities available. And so by 1 o'clock when we got in there were only smalls and mediums. And I was like, so I got a couple mediums, whatever. And I went back to get my son's girlfriend one, and literally they were down to all smalls.
Okay.
So these are $25 a piece, and then the kids version is $20. And people were mad that they could not get a shirt. Rightfully so. But guess how much they're going for on eBay, Jim?
Oh, it gotta be, high 50s, 60s, maybe as much as 100.
100. They're going for $100. And these Post-its, these free postcards, I think they were going for $25 a piece. So that made people even more mad at Disney because there was not a limit. It wasn't like you can buy two. So people were clearly frustrated. But I did get a DM this morning from somebody that talked to the store manager that said that they did not anticipate the demand for the Pittsburgh merch and that they were going to order more shirts and that they would be in 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. But again, realistically, this is the first pop-up, right? This is the first of... we know of a couple of these that are happening over the next couple of months, right? And
yes, and that was like my number one thing. I'm standing out in the rain and I'm talking to the people around me and I'm like, why here? Why now? Right? So I thought that we could dig into a little bit of how we got here. But before we do that, I would like to go like way, way back. Like you talked about my shirt that says 1987. Do you just want to do like a real quick refresher on like how we even got the Disney store to begin with?
Oh, yeah. I mean, weird part of this. This is a Michael Eisner, project. Again, Michael comes through the door as the company's new CEO in late September, early October of 1984, and and again, he spends a lot of time in the Disney parks, and he sees, for example, the crazy crowds of people in the Emporium, who at the end of the night are in there buying coffee mugs and T-shirts and baseball caps and, just something to show that I have been to Disneyland. And Michael, just wonders, okay, would this work out in the actual retail world? And, the interesting thing is that Michael decides to roll the dice. And the just up the street from Disney corporate headquarters in Burbank, California, is the Glendale Galleria, one of the biggest, most popular malls in the country, at least in the 80s. And Michael puts out the word to the effect of, I want to try a store. I want to try. And so, they convinced the Glendale Galleria to give them retail space. And then they basically reach out to everybody that Disney is doing retail merch with. And it's like, can we have some stuff? We're doing a store. And, and they set it up and, and this is the interesting thing that sort of paralleling, what you were doing with Ross Park. You talk about the fact that they went clean on all the T-shirts, but it's like, you have to anticipate that, well, what if nobody showed up? What if nobody really wanted this stuff? What if we order, thousands of these and only sell hundreds? And that was the thing with the original store. It's like, we're going to throw open the door in the Glendale Galleria, one of the most popular malls in the country. And what if it doesn't work? And Lauren, it not only worked, they had the highest per square foot sales of any store in the mall. And from there, it's like Michael Eisner's like, okay, we just found a brand new business unit. And I want to say within a year, they went from one store in the Glendale Galleria to 13 stores around the country. And within 10 years, I want to say they topped out at 700 plus of these in North America, which turned out to be too many. Because that was the interesting thing. People liked it when, their mall had a Disney store, because that meant they were special. And, Disney then got it in its head, well, every mall should have a Disney store. And that, in a weird sort of way, made the stores less special. The interesting thing is, yes, they were thrilled with the sales of the T-shirts and the hats and the coffee mugs and that sort of thing. But it was also about the experience. I mean, do you remember going to your local local Disney store, and they were there, all of them dressed in their Letterman sweaters, and you were personally greeted as you entered the store, and they chatted you up.
Yes. And like something that I never like really even thought about was like this was some of the like closest that many kids actually had to going to Disney.
That's
like
it, exactly.
If their families didn't get to go. So it got really big really fast, and as fast as we got them, it felt like as fast as we lost them. I mean, if you look at the rise of online shopping, and there's Disney merch everywhere now. You can get it at Target or Walmart or Amazon or Etsy or Shop Disney. It's like, well, why do we need to keep this giant retail footprint? Which then got us, Jim said 700 plus stores. And then by 2021, we were down to just 60. And like I said, now, as of today, we're at 20, well, with this new one, 22. But that was kind of like, okay, that all makes sense. But why Ross Park Mall in Pittsburgh, and why now? So this is where I really went down the rabbit hole to try to figure out.
Lauren, before you continue that story, let's just pause here for an ad break, and we'll be right back, folks. Okay, and we're back, folks. And Lauren, let's continue with the story you were telling.
The local news did do a little story, and I was talking to some folks from Pittsburgh while I was there. And some of the things that really, I think, shined a light on Ross Park specifically is that there's not any other Disney stores around it. The closest would be Cincinnati, which would go 4 hours, and then maybe 4 hours the other way in Lancaster. So you're pulling also from 3 states, Pittsburgh, Ohio, and West Virginia. This is also one of the only malls in the United States that is not just like surviving, it's thriving. Okay. And I think something that, was probably pretty attractive to Disney is if you look at the stores that are in Ross Park Mall, it's a very affluent customer base. So I think that all of that combined, and it's a Simon-owned mall. And if you look at the partnerships that they have existing, it seems like they try to stick with similar landlords. So that made sense for this area to get a Disney store. But I don't know specifically about the one that's coming to New Jersey, but if you look at it, like you're looking for high traffic situations, and this was really, really strategic, in my opinion, because we've talked about how they took on a partner for this, that Go Retail partner, and that they're really experienced in the brick and mortar space. And I think that we got here, not as, a mall story, but do you think this is really a Josh D'Amaro making a name for himself story, Jim?
Well, okay. Think about it. Josh, prior to becoming CEO of the Walt Disney Company, he was Mr. Parks Experiences and, more importantly, Consumer Products. He was, in charge of that division of the company. And, this is a guy who spent the bulk of his time at Disney working in the physical experiences side of the street. So for this, it can't be a coincidence that this is going on in a mall right now. That again, Josh literally just took the job on in March, and the fact that here is Parks Experiences and Products walking this out, and this is the first of 20. Is that right? 20.
There's a rumbling, right? I think there's only been 2 announced, but going back to like Why This, Why Now, and, the crime scene investigation going on my head at all times. So if you look at Josh's strategy to take this company into, the next era. They just made a massive investment in cruise ships, right?
Yep.
Massive park expansion. I think the biggest in history at Walt Disney World at one time. The experiences division growth and their streamlining. And then Josh's flywheel between it goes stories, products, experiences. And when I listened to the earnings call, remember I told you about the drinking game last week,
yep.
was immersive experiences, in-person experiences. And what I experienced this weekend was not going to the mall and going to a store. It was a full-fledged experience.
Now, the question is that you talked about the number of folks who were disappointed that, they couldn't get in. So this is that sort of knife's edge of the Disney experience.
Yes.
If the folks who got into the store came out and evangelize about, how nice it is to have a Disney store back again, and I got some wonderful products and that sort of thing. If those folks are evangelizing, in sufficient amount, the other stuff fades into the background. And again, by the way, I'm asking you now to put on your Diz and Hers hat. I would imagine that you and Eric are keeping tabs on, what's being said online about this. What's the feeling?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it is an overwhelming feeling of we want the Disney store back. Give us what we not even this pop-up, limited time experience. And if it wasn't evident by the thousands of people that showed up at this mall to go to this teeny tiny little store that had, I guess I didn't even get to really talk about what they did have. But it very much, you're going to have people, I had a lot of people in my videos saying what? Why are all these people going to this little, they just didn't understand. And if you're not in the community, maybe you wouldn't. And it was raining. And so also I'm the weather probably had a little bit to do with it, but it was really an experience and people were happy and they were spending money. I thought, this is a tiny store. People just want to see what they have. There was, not a tremendous amount that was different than what you could get at a different Disney store online. But it's that physical environment that makes you want to spend money that you just don't get online. You can think about it, put it in your cart, come back in a couple days. So I really felt like they're taking their theme park strategy and applying it to retail. And I think that that's the reason that we're getting this and getting it now, because it creates urgency, it creates scarcity, obviously FOMO, and it's very much feels like an experience. And I will say, I think that it was strategic on Disney's part that they put some things in the store that were exclusive to Disney World. I saw the maps merch with the plates and the kitchenware and the cups. I also saw, this is what I was wanted to tell you, for the 60th anniversary of Small World, they actually had one of the hula girl, it looked like an American Girl doll. And yes, it was awesome. And there was a set of 4 little Small World dolls, but the characters from Disneyland. It was Alice and Ariel and so you get the gist. It was so cool. And so I felt in addition to the Pittsburgh merch and the Disney World exclusive merch, that and everybody talking about it, it was creating some real FOMO for people. And I'm how many times do they need to see this play out before they're all right, we get it. You people want in-person experiences. Even if malls aren't thriving, that like this model could be successful.
Yeah. Now, again, circling back to the early days of the Disney store, and again, those 13 stores back in 88, 89. It's one of these things where, there's got to be that balancing act between this one made a lot of money, so let's move aggressively into this versus us being aggressive about this. Again, you mentioned 20, but parceling them out one at a time in specific territories around the country. And I will tell you, the interesting thing about at least when Disney first did the Disney store chain, the folks in retail turned to the parks and said, okay, what are your feeder markets? And it was like, for example, Boston, Massachusetts. So it's like, all right, we will put one in the biggest mall outside of Boston, Massachusetts. And that was the Burlington Mall. And then it was like, well, what's the other? Well, we do get a lot of folks who come down to from New Hampshire and fly out of Logan Airport and go to Walt Disney World. It's like, okay, so what's the biggest mall in New Hampshire? And it's like, well, it's Pheasant Lane, and that's just literally over the Massachusetts border. And they were strategic about where they place these, and at the same time, your lids analogy. These stores were tiny initially. They weren't giant enterprises. They were the size of a Spencer Gifts. But the notion of you went inside of this little piece of the mall, but it was floor to ceiling Disney. And anytime I went into one, I spent way too much money.
Yeah, and probably time because, even though it was small, like you said, it was really like jam-packed full of merch, and they still made room for like the little touches. Like in the back wall, they had this door, look like a magical door, and it says like characters only, and then it's like the shadow of like Minnie Mouse walking by or Mickey Mouse walking by. And so I mean, even in that condensed space, and the other thing is it really did not feel like a pop-up. So when I saw, like, I'm thinking like the calendar store, like Spirit Halloween or like something like that. When I'm thinking a pop-up, there was immense level of detail put into this, pop-up. And everybody's question is like, well, how long is this going to be around here? So what the cast members said was at least minimum through the holidays.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering if it's more of a, we'll do it until people stop buying the stuff. What do you think?
Again, what's fascinating about this is the timing, and if this is in fact a test, under Josh D'Amaro, new Disney CEO, I would argue that, yes, keeping this open through the 2026 holiday season would make sense. But at the same time, it's a notion of, do we have a ballpark when the Paramus one opens? That's
that one's September.
Okay.
September 25th.
Because if the Paramus Mall is where I think it is, and the irony is, I think Nancy and I actually went there in the 2000s because they opened a new Disney store, concept store there. So we made a special trip to that mall, to check out the latest version of the Disney store. So the irony is, well, I guess we're doing it again. But yeah, it'd just be kind of intriguing to see. I would love to know what's going on. I mean, we're recording this on Monday, May 25th, the Monday of Memorial Day. So Josh will be back in the office tomorrow.
Oh, I'm sure he heard. He heard all about it. Every media outlet was there. Yeah. I mean, like, unreal. And you know what? We keep talking about Josh and like coming out and like really making a name name for himself, and maybe he's just smart. Maybe he's taking a page out of Eisner's playbook and saying, like, what are some business lines that we're, not fully taking advantage of? And if people want in-person experiences in this overly digital world, let's give them what they want.
What's intriguing, I was just reading an article recently about how it's actually folks Lanny's age that are bringing malls back.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, my daughter, who is 15, I mean, she came downstairs earlier. I was like, what you doing? She's like, I was just watching the Brady Bunch. Like, I think that they are craving a simpler time and a simpler way of life. And I mean, like, Full House and Saved by the Bell and all of that stuff. And where were those kids hanging out?
There we go. But here's the thing. Disney has to walk into this project knowing and you pray they learn from the previous history of the Disney store to the effect of, yes, this is in fact a gold mine, but it's a gold mine that you have to show restraint with, because the moment this stops being special, it stops making money. So now it's like, well, how many stores is just enough stores? And more to the point, is it a forever store, or is it only in place for 6 months, 9 months, and then it moves to another mall? I mean, what is the actual physical business plan here?
That I do not know, but I have to tell you one more interesting little tidbit that my crime scene investigation brain was connecting dots with. If you look, we talked about the earnings call, right? And they said that we're talking about the Super app and how the Disney Plus would be the hub, and then everything would be a spoke of Disney Plus. If you look at Disney Plus's branding, and then you look at the branding of this limited time store, they're extremely similar. So it's on the flywheel. It's on Josh's flywheel. So I would not be surprised if these deliver financially for the partner who's assumed some of the risk and Disney, that I can't imagine that we won't see more of these popping up, even if they are what we kind of see at Christmas time sometimes, how they do a big collaboration with Macy's and, they're popping up in Targets and whatever. So keep your fingers crossed. Make your voices heard if you want to see a Disney store. Make sure you're commenting on social media. I want to write him a letter because it was a real good time. But on that note, Jim, I have shopped until I have dropped, and I think it is time we close up shop for today.
Okay, that we will, Lauren. By the way, if you want to keep up on everything happening across the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network, please follow us on social.
Yes, and if you have an idea or question for a future episode, send us a message. We love to hear from you. Jim is at jim@jimhillmedia.com, and I'm at lauren@laurenhersey.com. And that does it for today's episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on I Want That Too.